Hey everybody. So one of the things that I want to talk about today that was really meaningful to me is I want to talk about our big friend Joe. I've been seeing a lot of trans people be really upset about this, particularly for the idea that there's this desire to have very real, meaningful change. And I think that's totally fine. But there's a tendency for especially marginalized groups to get very cynical about change. But I also think that we need to take our W's where we can. Otherwise, we fall into, pessimistic nihilism or just out and out cynicism. I think it's okay to have hopium occasionally, like just huff it. It's good. So let's talk about Mr. Joe Biden. Okay, so Biden White House is preparing to confront states on anti-trans bills. The Biden administration is preparing to directly confront the rash of anti-LGBT and specifically anti-trans bills proliferating in state legislatures, according to Human Rights Campaign, the country's leading LGBTQ advocacy organization. Separately, the Department of Justice has told the Daily Beast it will fully enforce our civil rights statutes to protect transgender individuals, giving hope to campaigners that the DOJ is preparing to challenge in the courts the legality of the bills that have been introduced and some passed in a number of states outlawing transgender youth access to healthcare and sports. This is both based and pog. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. This is great. The White House's move and the DOJ's declaration follow President Biden's address to the joint session of Congress last week, in which he said that he hoped Congress gets to my desk the Equality Act to protect LGBTQ Americans. To all transgender Americans watching at home, especially young people who are so brave, I want you to know that your president has your back. Name a president that has said anything like this. I'm not saying presidents are great, they're just people, but I dare you. Even Obama didn't say anything this fucking direct. This old guy remembers back when ice cream was made by going to the Arctic, and he is literally saying that the president stands with them. Joe Based. Biden's words were warmly welcomed by campaigners as a stirring sentiment of support, although they also attracted criticism for not mentioning the multiple legislative acts of trans youth, which having their backs meant in practical terms at such a critical moment. As Kay Sharpley, a Texas trans fourth grader who eloquently testified in the state Senate, put it in a tweet, I'm very thankful for this, but what does having my back mean? Like, if the bill passes in Texas, will you keep them from putting my mom in jail? Shapley was referring to the SB, I assume that's Senate Bill 1646, one of the many anti-trans bills being considered in Texas. Chase, that's a really interesting name, Strangio, I can't pronounce that, Deputy Director of Transgender Justice at the American Civil Liberties Union, LGBT and HIV Project, said in another tweet, I guess I appreciate the platitudes, but what we need is action. Things are desperate. At the time of writing this, 253 anti-LGBT bills have been introduced in current legislative action. 124 of the bills are anti-trans, including 66 focusing on playing sports, 33 focused on access to healthcare, and 14 focused on bathroom and locker room access. Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, West Virginia, and South Dakota have introduced bans on trans girls playing school sports. Arkansas has enshrined a ban on gender-affirming healthcare. Let's be very clear. These people don't give a fuck about girls. They don't give a fuck about this. They want to hurt trans people. Suffering is the point, people. Many other bills are on the governor's desk awaiting signatures, but debated in state legislatures. According to the recent GLAAD survey, focusing on the first 100 days of Biden's presidency, 70% of LGBTQ Americans say the bills make them feel unsafe in their own communities. Yup. Human Rights Campaign President Alphonso David told the Daily Beast, we are having conversations with the Biden administration about additional actions that they should be taking as it relates to anti-LGBTQ bills that we've seen in the states. But we want to make sure we don't lose sight of how important those words are or how important his earlier actions have been to support and protect LGBT people through the country. Real quick, just to remind you all, The fact of the matter is that Biden, upon day one, got back into office and gave us back a fuck ton of rights that Trump took from us. I'll put this in chat, but I always bring this up because I think it's really fucking important. Ignore my GIF in the background. It's just there for based and epic Godzilla. So I'll post this in chat for people that want to look at it, but let's be super clear. This has been a continually updated thing since Trump took office, showing every crime this motherfucker has done against LGBT people, specifically trans people in a lot of cases. Everything from August 14, 2019, the Trump administration urges the Equal Employment Commission to reverse the Obama-era policy providing workplace protections for LGBTQ people. The request comes weeks before oral arguments in the U.S. Supreme Court on October 8th. I mean, we can go further back. Let's take it back to the 2017. October 6, 2017, the Department of Health and Human Services rolls back Affordable Care birth control benefits, allowing for the use of religious exemptions to deny health care to women, trans men, and gender nonconforming people who rely on no copay contraceptive benefits. I don't know why the page wouldn't exist. I will just put it right there again. I'll put it in the link for this video as well. This reporter asked David if HRC would like Biden and his administration directly and publicly challenge the anti-LGBTQ and anti-trans laws being debated and passed. The short answer is yes, and based on my conversations with the administration, I believe they are willing to do that, David told the Daily Beast. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki has previously emphasized Biden believes trans rights are human rights and that no one should be discriminated on the basis of sex. Not only is this the law of the land, it is his own deeply held belief. The number and pace of the anti-trans bills has led many to call for the administration to make its support more proactive. I mean, Brittany, have you ever read the book, The Sports Gene, where it talks about how different groups, different ethnic populations have different biological capabilities at a physiological level? It's actually a pretty compelling book. But it does bring up the fact that, like, if we're going to start making shit up about, like, why trans girls are going to supposedly be better at, like, sports, then can't this just lead to, like, a weird eugenics thing? No, super true, Spirit. Super fucking true. And, like, again, one of the big things with this is that you can see it. The suffering is baked in. This isn't about actually making this fair. It's to fuck trans girls. And if you go with the genital bill that was in Florida that got removed, probably directly do that. Let's be super clear. It's no wonder that, again, the GOP really likes child bride laws. Go fig. By the way, if you like the stream, please donate streamlabs.com/transgirltherapist/tip. At a time when anti-trans legislation aimed at harming trans youth is moving through state houses at an alarming rate, President Biden's words are welcomed, but don't go far enough. Chris Hayashi, executive director of the Transgender Law Center, told the Daily Beast, to truly have our backs, the administration must take action against states enacting these laws, immediately end the detention of trans people, and address the police killings of black people and the crises of violence against black trans women faced in this nation. Alfonso David would not reveal the details of the conversation HRC was having with the Biden administration, except to say that we are exploring a variety of ways where the administration could be even more active. Federal agencies interpret federal law, and I believe in many cases the bills being passed in many states across the country violate federal law, including the Constitution. So there are a lot of options and actions that have yet to be taken that we are engaging with the Biden administration on as they explore different ways that they can be even more impactful. We anticipate more actions from the Biden administration as related to these bills. I think more needs to be done, and we are engaging with them to do more. I believe the administration is going to be taking additional steps and additional actions that will further clarify their position as it relates to anti-LGBT bills, that we're seeing in the States. I can't tell you what form that will take. Biden hoped to pass the Equality Act within his first 100 days of presidency. It needs 60 votes to pass the Senate, and the Republican senators thus far have not shown much sign of supporting it. Democrat Senator Joe Manchin, fuck that dude, support isn't assured either. Yeah, but again, if you're going to blame trans girls on shit, I mean, yeah, it's just really fucking true, but super valid, Spirit. Equality campaigners have welcomed Biden's many pro-equality actions since winning the presidency, as detailed by American Progress. For example, there have been executive orders to lift the Trump-era trans military ban, and another directing federal agencies to fully implement the Bostock ruling at the Supreme Court last year, which ensued sexual orientation and gender identity, were included under the umbrella sex discriminations as laid out by the 1964 Civil Rights Act. By the way, the same act that the 2016 candidate for the Libertarian Party wanted to repeal. Yeah, seriously, libertarians are a joke, and Gary Johnson is a fucking idiot. The Department of Justice also clarified that Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits discrimination on the basis of gender identity and sexual orientation in federal-funded educational institutions. The Department of Justice recently cited the Eighth Amendment of the United States Constitution in the case of an incarcerated trans woman, writing that it requires prison officials to conduct individualized assessments that lead to reasonably safe conditions of confinement and adequate medical care for all prisoners. True. However, a recent PBS NewsHour NPR Mars poll found that 66% of Americans, including 70% of the Republicans, oppose legislation prohibiting gender transition-related medical care for minors. Last night in Kansas, Republicans failed to overturn Democrat Governor Laura Kelly's veto of the state's ban on trans girls playing school sports. Trans youth in Arkansas and North Carolina recently spoke powerfully and movingly to the Daily Beast about living in those states at this time. Alfonso David said that where the Trump administration had broken every rule, regulation, and constitutional principle known to man, we have to make sure that we are confronting anti-equality extremists. That we don't violate our own principles. We have to adhere to the rule of law and Constitution, but at the same time, make sure that states are not violating those principles. I think that is what the Biden administration is evaluating as they go through the next phase of determining what actions to take. All right. And so I'll post this in the link for this, but I just want to be really clear. This is POG. Now, we can talk about the fact that healthcare for trans children is safe, effective. Puberty blockers are safe and effective. Nobody is getting fucking gender reassignment surgery at 14. This is all fear-mongering. And the fact of the matter is this. We need to be clear on this. This is an issue in which very real demonstrable harm is going to happen to children if the Biden administration doesn't push back on this. And I agree that we need very real action, but I also kind of get addicted to hopium. And I also want to say that I think it's really great that this is happening. To hear the president of the United States, an old-ass white man, say, the president has your back. Again, the question is, what does that exactly mean? But the fact that he did it, I mean, again, I'm a fucking aging millennial. I was born in the early 80s. You have to realize that when I was a kid, trans women were a joke. Go back and rewatch the ending of fucking Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, or Silence of the Lambs, or The Crying Game. Right? If you haven't seen Lindsay Ellis's video on the history of transphobia in media, you might want to check that out. Or Mia Mulder's video about the history of transphobia. This is a demonstrable good. And I agree that Biden needs to do more. But I think we need to be careful on how we describe this or how we talk about it. Because one of the major issues is there is a tendency to believe that this is never enough. And I don't want to say that it is enough, but I also want to be very careful that we don't alienate our allies by constantly trying to push for something that is already on the docket. It looks like the Biden administration's already taking these actions. The fact that the Department of Justice actually is looking to do something is fucking fabulous. Neurodivergent 2, ADHD. So I just want to make it really clear that this shit matters. Like, it's so easy to get disheartened. It's so easy to think that it's never enough, and it isn't. But I really need people to realize that this shit matters. Okay? Keep pushing the administration. We know Biden can be forced left. Let's be very clear. In 2008, when him and Obama were running, they literally said they were not for gay marriage. Specifically, Biden said he was against it. But he was just like with Obama, running down the fucking hallway while the White House had rainbows up, running with a flag with fucking President Obama. Even if these are just photo ops, even if this is just press bullshit, they mean something. When people in power telegraph that they give a fuck about us, it means something. It means something in the sense that it forces those people that are our political enemies, the people that would want to see us without medical care, to see us harmed, to see us destitute and dead, to see people in power support us, leaves them mauling. So yeah, celebrate and push. You can do both. Okay? So if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below and what things you'd like to see from the Biden administration. And if you want to support the channel, please go to streamlabs.com/transgirltherapist/tip, or you can go to Patreon and become a patron, patreon.com/transgirltherapist. We really appreciate the support. We do donations on this channel because it helps support our income, because my partner Zena cannot work. They just deal with migraines too frequently. My own hair dye sent them into a migraine today. This is how severe it is. So anything you can spare, even just $1, is really helpful. But if you can't spare anything, just know helping and watching and sharing the videos is more than enough, okay? All right, so I love you guys. Let's keep pushing the Biden administration and also remain hopeful, okay? All right? I love you all. I'll see you next one.